I was made aware many years ago that the United States federal government is being contacted by other civilizations, and we Americans have been playing with their ideas and going along with them in their state of affairs. It's an incredible story, but for 100 years I know of that we have been listening to the authorities tell us there is no such a thing as extraterrestrial life, when in point of fact, we have been talking to them, and we're talking to them now. And they've been planning things around us that we don't know anything about. So that is that. That's as far as I can go on that. The name of the scientist that actually designed the first electric telescope was back in the 30s. I can't remember his name, but he invented the electrical telescope. And from there, when he died, another scientist in Scotland also picked up on this scientist's efforts and made himself aware of the electronic telescope, and he began using it. And he was told by the first scientist that he had been receiving communications from Cassiopeia, the constellation. So he, the second scientist in Scotland, began aiming his electronic telescope into Cassiopeia and sending out messages. And he began receiving messages back. And they were intelligent, well-preserved, and amplified so that they were coming in crystal clear, that they were you would say probably that they were well-developed messages, but we didn't understand them. And so we find that the word for God is Deus, D-E-U-S. Deus in Latin is God. Deus is actually based on Zeus. Zeus is God. And I believe that that is probably one of the reasons why we're praying and praying and praying for help and protection with very little to show for it. And so I think it's because we're praying to the wrong God, because I am sure the Romans knew the difference between Zeus and the Almighty Christian God. And I think that that's what we need to understand, is that Zeus is the actual God of this area of the universe. I have been told that. And I think that that is probably true, that Zeus is the God of this particular area of the universe. Again, I would then caution you that there are so many questions that we need to ask that we have not been told, and we're not being told for a reason. We need to understand that our government knows many things that they're not telling us, and they are keeping from us many important things which we're not made aware of. I have been talking to scientists for years who are with NASA and private scientists and public scientists, and I know that they're all saying the same thing, that yes, we know more than we're telling you. We've known it for a long time. That being the case, there are many other things we could talk about, but at the moment, this is all I can think of to say. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, you go ahead.
Jordan, you mentioned Zeus and how Zeus was the ruler of this area of our universe. Can you tell the audience what you told me about that scientist who told you about the theogony of Hesiod? You remember how that relates to this?
Yes, he wrote a book. This one scientist at NASA wrote a book, and he's been persecuted for it. And he is no longer around. He does not make his address known, does not make his phone number known, and he's afraid for his life. He wrote the book called Ringmakers of Saturn. The book is called The Ringmakers of Saturn, in which he talked about all the things that are going on the planet Saturn that we've never been told. And Saturn was referred to as El, the same word the Jews call God is El. And so the Jews are worshiping Saturn. And that's why Saturn is today the house of God. And this is why the Jews today still go to the synagogue on Friday, on El, and they go until they stay there for Saturday. And so Friday night is actually Saturday for the Jews. And so we're learning that the Jews have known about El from the very beginning. They must have been communicating somehow with the god El. And this is why on Saturn in the North Pole, you will see a Star of David on the North Pole of the planet Saturn. It was picked up and used by the Zionists in the 1800s. That's a whole different story today. At this point, I would like to say again, I thank you all for being here, and I appreciate Bob Brown allowing me.
Last year, you were talking about how the Vatican were basically the most powerful people on the planet, controlling everything, and well, I definitely tend to agree with you big time. But before that, I was sort of under the impression that it was really the Rothschilds that were really the big ones of the family. So I wanted to know, where do the Rothschilds fit in the hierarchy of all this? And do you know how far back the Rothschild legacy goes? Because according to history, I think it began with Mayer Rothschild. I think it was in the 1600s or 1700s. But I've heard indications that they actually go all the way back to ancient Egypt. So what can you tell me? What do you know about the Rothschilds? How high up are they in the hierarchy of all this, of the New World Order?
We were told that Pharaoh was walking along the Nile. And this story is on the side of one of the temples in Egypt. And the whole story is written out in hieroglyphics. And it says that Pharaoh was walking along the Nile by himself and discovered that there was a silver disc above his head. And the people in the silver disc were talking to the Pharaoh, and he could hear them in his head. And they told him to go back to Cairo and form a new religion. And his new religion will be the most important religion on the earth. And that they, the members of the silver disc, they alone will make this symbol the most important symbol on the earth. And it was going to become a very important symbol for the whole world. And they told the Pharaoh that symbol will be a sunrise over a mountain range. And today, all over the world, in every nation of the world, a sunrise over a mountain range is the most important symbol. And they told the Pharaoh that we will call this new religion Aman. And this is why you got the Pharaoh Akhenaten. And even the Hebrews have the story of the Aman. They say that it is not safe to use the name of their God in vain, but you can use a particular name for their God, which is all right to use. And we're told that that is tetragrammaton. And tetra in Latin is 4. Gram, G-R-A-M-M, gram is a letter, like A, B, C, D is a letter. Therefore, tetragram is 4 Hebrew letters inside of the sun. And it's on the altar of every synagogue in the world, all over the earth. The tetragrammaton, A-T-O-N, is the sun god of Egypt, the tetragrammaton. And so we now see where the Jews are worshiping the tetragrammaton. The Aton is the sun god of Egypt. All of this is very interesting to me. It implies that there's so much more that we haven't been told about the whole world we live in.
If you enjoyed this, make sure to watch the next video on AwakenZone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, but you won't want to miss what's coming next.